All right, let's get right into it. Have you ever been in one of those arguments that just goes in circles? You know, the kind where you wish there was like a referee and a clear set of rules? Well, that's pretty much what Asian parliamentary debate is. It's not just arguing, it's an intellectual sport. It's got teams, it's got strategies, and it's got a playbook. And today, we're going to break down exactly how you can master this game.
Which of course leads to the big question, right? How do you take a totally chaotic argument and turn it into something fair, something balanced, a real contest of ideas? Well, the secret, it's all about having a solid framework.
And that framework? It's called parliamentary debate. Think of it less like a simple argument and more like a structured arena where ideas go to battle. Seriously, this isn't about who has the loudest voice. It's all about who can build the strongest case using logic, smart strategy, and, just being really, really persuasive.
Okay, so to get how this whole thing works, you've got to meet the players first. In every single debate, there are two opposing sides. And trust me, every single person on those teams has a super specific job to do.
So first up, you've got the government team. Their job is pretty straightforward. They propose the topic of the debate, that's what we call the motion, and they have to defend it. And facing them, that's the opposition. Their one and only goal is to tear down the government's case. It's a pure, head-to-head clash of ideas from start to finish.
Let's look at the government's lineup. You've got three key players here. The Prime Minister, or the PM, is the one who kicks the whole thing off. They set the stage and define what the debate's actually about. Then you've got the Deputy Prime Minister, the DPM, who comes in to both defend their case and start punching holes in the opposition's arguments. And wrapping it all up is the government whip, whose job is to summarize everything for their team and land those final crucial blows.
Now, the opposition team is set up almost exactly the same way. It's a perfect mirror. The leader of the opposition, the LO, is the PM's direct opponent, there to create that immediate clash. Then the deputy leader, the DLO, goes up against the DPM, refuting their points while building up the opposition's own case. And you guessed it, the opposition whip has the same job as the government whip. Bring it all home, summarize the biggest clashes, and make that final case for why their team won.
All right, so now you know who's playing, but how does the game actually, get played? Let's get into the rules of engagement, because this is where things like timing and the order of speaking become absolutely critical.
So the whole thing unfolds in a really specific order. It's like a tennis match. The Prime Minister serves, then the Leader of Opposition returns, then the Deputy PM hits it back. And it goes on like that. Each speaker gets exactly 7 minutes. No more, no less. This keeps it totally fair and gives both sides the same amount of time to build their case and, to rip the other side's case apart.
But wait, here's where it gets really interesting and interactive. It's not just a bunch of people giving speeches one after another. During most of those 7-minute speeches, an opponent can pop up and offer a point of information. We just call it a POI. It's a super quick, under 15-second question or comment meant to challenge the speaker right then and there. And if you use them right, they can be a total game changer.
Of course, there are rules. You can't just interrupt whenever you feel like it. POIs can only be offered during the main body of the speech. So, after the first minute and before the last minute. The person speaking has all the power here. They can either say yes and take your question, or just wave you down and keep going. But here's a pro tip. A really confident speaker will always try to take at least 1 or 2 POIs. It shows they're not scared of a little challenge. So after all this back and forth, all this clashing, how do you actually decide who won? Well, it's definitely not a popularity contest, and it's not about who was the most aggressive. Victory is decided by a panel of judges or adjudicators who use a really specific scoring system to figure out which team was just plain more persuasive.
And it all comes down to 3 key things, 3 pillars of judging. You've got matter and manner, which are the 2 big ones, each worth 40% of the score, and then you have method, the strategy part, which makes up the last 20%. So, what on earth do those words actually mean? Let's break it down.
Okay, first up, matter. This is the what of your speech. It's all about the substance. Are your arguments logical? Do you have good evidence? Is your reasoning solid? Basically, it's asking, is your case actually built on something strong, or is it just hot air?
Then there's manner, and this is all about how you say it. It's your style, your delivery. Are you persuasive? Are you confident? Do you command the room? You could have the most genius argument ever, but if you just mumble it at your notes, nobody's going to be convinced. That's manner.
And finally, we've got method. Think of this as the strategy, the organizational glue that holds your whole case together. It's about teamwork. Was your speech well-structured and easy to follow? And more importantly, did your team's arguments all link up to build one big, consistent case? That's what good method is all about.
Now, after those 6 main speeches are done, we enter the end game, the reply speech. And this quote on screen, it nails the purpose perfectly. This speech is your chance to give a biased judgment. It's not about bringing up new stuff. It's about framing the entire debate, looking back at everything that was said, and telling the judge exactly why your team won.
It's a short but super important 4-minute summary. The opposition gives their reply first, and then the government gets the last word of the entire debate. And the rules here are super strict. Absolutely no new arguments, and definitely no POIs. Your only job is to compare the two sides and prove why your team clearly had the edge.
So we've pretty much covered the ins and outs of Asian parliamentary debate, but it's really important to remember that this is just one format out of many in the huge world of competitive debate. So how does AP stack up against the others?
Well, let's put it side by side with the other really big format, British Parliamentary, or BP, and you can see the differences right away. AP is a clean 2-team battle, 3 speakers versus 3 speakers. BP, on the other hand, is this chaotic 4-team brawl with 2 speakers on each team. A huge difference is that AP has that all-important reply speech at the end, which just doesn't exist in BP. Even the judging is different. In AP, it's a simple majority vote from the judges, while in BP, the judges have to all agree on the ranking.
And believe me, this format is a huge deal. It's the main event at massive tournaments like the United Asian Debating Championships, the UADC. This is one of the biggest competitions in Asia where the absolute best university teams from all over the continent come to face off.
So there you have it. We've toured the arena, we've met the players, and we've learned the rules of the game. Now that you've got the playbook, I've got one last question for you to think about. Which role would you play? Would you be the one to set the agenda as Prime Minister, the one to lead the charge as the leader of the opposition, or maybe the detail-oriented whip who brings it all home? It's kind of fun to think about where you'd fit in.